highest standards of integrity, wonderful, tough, career public servant. How do you use those words and then call his actions on Friday into question?
Well, Jake, look, this was an unprecedented action. It broke with policy of Democratic and Republican Justice Departments. It was done over the advice of senior Justice Department officials. And, I think that the Justice Department has had a long tradition of not interfering in election, coming 11 days before the election. As I said yesterday, it was long on innuendo, short on facts. So we're calling on Mr. Comey to come forward and explain what's at issue here. So far there's no charge of wrongdoing. There's no charge even that Hillary and the reporting that backs it up coming from anonymous law enforcement sources indicates it may not be about her server. It may not be about her at all. So I think this is something that has been tossed into the middle of a campaign. We would have preferred that not happen, but now that it has happened, Mr. Comey really needs to come forward and explain why he took this unprecedented step, particularly when he said himself in the letter to the Hill that these may not even be significant.
Well, he said that it was pertinent to the investigation. And here's the world according to James Comey's perspective. FBI agents are investigating the husband of one of Hillary Clinton's top aides for allegedly sending illicit material to an underage girl. In the course of that, they stumble upon emails that seem to be relevant to the other investigation, the Clinton investigation. Suddenly, Comey finds that his sworn statement from September that the FBI had completed its review was no longer true. They had more materials. Now, Clinton didn't follow protocols when she started her email server. Huma Abedin turned over that computer. Weiner was doing what he was doing. And you and the Clinton campaign seem to be blaming Comey for being transparent with Congress. What was he supposed to do?
Well, look, Jake, I think he should have done, in my view, and in the view of many senior people in both Democratic and Republican administrations. 2 deputy attorney generals from the Bush administration have already come out. He should have taken further steps. Yahoo News reported last night that they haven't even looked at the contents of these. So to throw this in the middle of the campaign, 11 days out, just seemed to break with precedent and be inappropriate at this stage. If they're not significant, they're not significant. So he might have taken the first step of actually having looked at them before he did this in the middle of the presidential campaign so close to the voting.
But it's not that they haven't read any of them. Obviously, the FBI agents who stumbled upon them read some of them and determined them to be pertinent and then realized they didn't have...
Do you know that?
That's according to the report. It's according to... I'm telling you, according to the reporting of Evan Perez, our Justice Department correspondent, it's not as though they didn't know anything in the emails. They stumbled upon them, found that they seemed to be pertinent to the Clinton email server investigation, and that is why.
Seem to be pertinent, might not be significant 11 days before the election. Is that something you toss on the table, or do you take the time to do what other prosecutors have done in the past and make sure that if it is so significant that you had to go forward with it? So I don't fault him for taking a look at whatever he's found. We don't really know what that is. But at this stage, having taken this step, then he at least ought to explain, if he thinks they're significant or not significant, let him come forward and say why.
Do you accept the fundamental premise that the reason we're here is because Hillary Clinton and her inner circle, not including made a horrible decision to set up her private email server, and everything that has happened since then is her fault?
Well, look, I think she's apologized for setting up a private email server. She said it was a mistake. She said she wouldn't do it over again. I think, it's very clear that this has been an issue through the course of this campaign. I think she obviously would like to take that decision back, but she's learned from it. And I think what's important about this campaign at this stage, with 9 days to go, is who's fit to be president, who has the experience, and the question of whether Donald Trump is too dangerous, too temperamentally unfit to be president of the United States. So that's what we're going to close
John,
on. And we're going to she's going to talk about the future she wants to build in building an economy that's going to work for everyone, not just people at the top. And, we're not going to be distracted by this.
I always hear the Clinton team say that she's learned from it. What has she learned?
Well, look, I think that she said many times she wouldn't do it over again. I think it was, I think she didn't give it that much thought when she did it in the first place, and it's the kind of a decision that I think needed more thought, more review, and she didn't do it, and I think she regrets that. I think it's regrettable, but you learn and you move on. I think in contrast to our opponent, who never seems to learn from his mistakes and keeps repeating them and doubling down on them.
So as part of this Judicial Watch lawsuit, Huma Abedin had to testify under oath, and she said, quote, "I looked for all the devices that may have had any of my State Department work on it and returned, gave them to my attorneys for them to review for all relevant documents, and gave them devices and paper." Obviously, this other computer was not included in that group. Have you asked Abedin why she did not turn over this computer that is now being reviewed by the FBI?
Look, I think Huma's been completely cooperative with the authorities, and they've recognized that. She's worked with her attorneys to turn over relevant material, but we don't know what this is all about, really. So it's very hard.
But John, she hasn't been completely cooperative if she didn't turn over every device that had State Department emails on them, and this one computer did.
I think it's clear that she complied to the best of her ability, turned everything over that she had in her possession. I don't know anything more than the speculation that's running wild in the press now about what this is about. I've talked to her.
Have you talked to her? Have you asked Huma Abedin what is on the computer and why she didn't turn it over when she said she had divided all the devices? We don't know what computer
Mr. Comey is talking about. You're assuming a lot of facts that we don't know. So I think that, as I said, she's been fully cooperative with the authorities, and they have recognized that. And I think that we could sit here and speculate and put facts into the record based on.
I'm not speculating, sir.
Reports.
Our reporting is that it was a laptop computer that belonged to Anthony Weiner, and they found State Department emails on that laptop. That's reporting. That's not speculation.